Someone asks you to describe The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug in one word. The only word that you could use, if you could find your voice of it, would be perfect. The movie is absolutely perfect. It's not directly by the book. It's not every second is action, but it is something that I will love and cherish forever, and it is just a movie that is, in a word, perfect. So I went to see The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug in IMAX experience yesterday, and after I watched it, the words would not come out because I was so amazed. The movie is so beautiful, I do not have words to describe just how amazing it was. I loved all the themes that they kept in there. I love what they did keep from the book and added from the Silmarillion and other works that he published. And it was just a very, very good movie. I will say up front that I did like it better than The Unexpected Journey, which is interesting for me because I've never liked a Lord of the Rings or Hobbit movie over another. Because when people ask me what is your favorite movie of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, I have to sit there and think, because first of all, I love the Fellowship of the Ring because of how much you see of the Shire and just how fun the beginning is, and I love seeing the ring race for the first time, and plus it's the beginning. You see this fellowship form, and you're thrust into this new world, and you're getting used to everything, and you're just amazed by what Middle Earth is. And like as you get introduced to all the characters, you're just laughing and you're happy, and then it gets rough. I mean, near the end. I mean, we all know. I'm not going to spoil it for anyone who hasn't watched it, though. If you haven't watched it, get on it. Get on that. You need to get on that. And then when we move on to the Two Towers, I just love Gollum's character, and the Two Towers is basically Gollum's movie. And I love his lines and like his dialogues, or I guess you could say with himself, and like just the whole scene at the pool, and we see his face like on him and then his reflection in the water, and just that scene is so good. Two Towers is, I would say it's my favorite, but it can't be my favorite because the Return of the King. Everything ends, it's the huge finale. I love how the Lord of the Rings, how they ended the movies and rather going with the book, because at the book, when they get home, they would have like another hour's worth of movie because there's so much that happens in the few chapters after the ring is destroyed. So I really just can't say, because all three movies mean something different to me, and all three are near and dear to my heart. I definitely enjoyed The Desolation of Smaug more than I did The Unexpected Journey. It may be the fact that I've seen Lord of the Rings movies. I've seen each movie twice, and with The Unexpected Journey, I've been to movie showings for it. I saw it in theaters. I've watched it with several of my relatives, and I've just seen it a lot more, and I feel like I know the story there. And while it is an amazing, amazing movie, I just think The Desolation of Smaug just pulls away a little bit because it is so good. So if you have not seen the movie, I highly suggest that you leave now because I will be spoiling it. But just so you know, it was absolutely amazing. I honestly cannot give it like a high enough rating, because I text my friend right after the movie. She's like, so how high would you rate it? And I was like, 15 out of 10 stars. And she's like, I don't think that works, but okay. But in actuality, just it exceeds 100% because it is so amazing. So, non-spoiler people, bye! See a lot of scary things in this film. I mean, we have the Mirkwood spiders, we have the Eye of Sauron, that was freaky. And then we have Smaug himself. The Mirkwood spiders wouldn't have been so creepy had Bilbo not slipped the ring on and then he could hear their speech. And the way these spiders talked, it just gave you chills. It was terrifying. But in a good way, because it's Lord of the Rings, and it's The Hobbit, and it's Tolkien, and you can never be too scared to watch this movie. So, the Mirkwood spiders were done really well, because it's really kind of a hard scene to imagine, because, one, we don't have huge spiders like that in the real world, and 2 spiders talking. That's a bit strange. And it was done so well, like with the webs like being all there, and like I love how they also showed that Mirkwood made you lost, and basically it distorted your senses to the point that you didn't know where you were going. You kind of lost sense of what you were trying to do and all that. I love how they kept with that. The skin changer, the bear, I think that was done really well too. I don't remember specifically if that's in the Hobbit or not, but I do think it was done really well. Pretty sure it was in there. Pretty sure. I am deathly afraid of bees. So when this huge bumblebee just comes at my face, I jump. And then Bilbo wakes up to one on his nose / face because it's so huge. And he's just like, you're not supposed to be that big. Just the 3D that they did and how they added 3D aspects were done incredibly well. Just this movie is done incredibly well. Then we finished with Mirkwood spiders, and I thought, because it's been a while since I've read the book, it's been a few years, but if I remember correctly, that section should have been, I think if we were going exactly by the book, I think it should have been in the first movie, but I totally see why they didn't do that. I wasn't expecting them to have bad elves, because it's already been established in Lord of the Rings that elves are good, and it was interesting to see, because when Gandalf was talking about how the wood elves are different from your regular elves, and you know, they're not Rivendell elves, basically. They're different and they're harsher, but they're still elves. I thought that it was going to be like this completely different band, and then we see Thranduil and Legolas and Tauriel, and it's just like, whoa. And Legolas and Orlando Bloom, have seen him back. He was tough. He was amazing, and I love that they gave him like the best fight scenes. He was a very key character in this movie, and even though he's not in The Hobbit in the book, it was a good way to tie in The Lord of the Rings with The Hobbit. Speaking of tie-ins, I loved all the little clues that they gave that this is the prequel to The Lord of the Rings. For instance, in the very beginning, the opening scene, and it says they're in Bree, and it shows Gandalf and Thorin meeting for the first time. As we're doing our shot towards the Prancing Pony, we see this guy, and he's walking in the mud and the rain, because, you know, it's been raining for a while, apparently, and he has this huge carrot in his hand, and then he goes, and he bites it, and he's eating it. And I just couldn't help but allude to, you know, Merry and Pippin with their huge carrots, you know, I think I've broken something, and then he pulls it up and it's a carrot. And I love how they did that. And then when the elves are searching the dwarves, when they've captured them, Legolas is searching Bomber, and he pulls out this little like book, and it has 2 pictures in it. And Legolas is like, who is this ugly thing? And Bomber's like, well, that's my wife, thank you very much. And then Legolas looks at it again, and he goes, well, then who's this ugly little sprout? And Bomber goes, well, that's my son, Gimli. And Legolas is like, well, he's ugly. And it's just so funny, because it's like, well, you called him ugly now, but he's going to be your best friend later. Just, that was so awesome. And I loved when Gandalf went up in the mountains, and we see him in the tomb and all that stuff, and then he sees the Eye of Sauron form for the first time. That was so cool. Like how the orange, like fiery part of his eye was as we know and love, but then like the black part of his eye, his pupil, I believe, was his form. And it was like his human form, I would say. He's not human, but it's like his humanish form. And then it just kept going, and it showed his human form, and then it zooms in, and it's the fiery part of the eye, and it just kept going to show you how powerful he is. That was cool. It boggles your mind, but it just showed you how immense his power was. It was so cool. Everything was cool and done well. And in the 3D in this huge theater, having Sauron's eye right in your face was terrifying. Just having him right here, and you know from the Lord of the Rings just how powerful he is, and you know how dangerous he is, and you see Gandalf's face, and he is terrified. You're just like, stop coming at me, because you literally feel like you can just reach up and touch him. And that's another thing. They made this movie in mind, and they made it in 3D, and they did the higher frame rate and all that. And I had heard some people talk about how the higher frame rate took away from the movie. I didn't see The Unexpected Journey in the higher frame rate because the theater that I went to didn't have it, because I ended up traveling further so I could do the IMAX experience, and it had the higher frame rate. And holy cow, was it amazing! Just, dwarves here, you're here. When we see Smaug for the first time, and we saw like all the coins sliding off of him, and then we see his eye, I jumped. And then hearing his voice for the first time absolutely terrified me. I was just, yeah. And the funny thing is, my dad thought he was cute. And I'm like, are you insane? It's this huge dragon coming at you. And I'm just like, I don't want to look away. Because he's just so magnificent and so huge and so... And you're just like, oh my goodness, I'm in a room with the dragon. The enormity of the situation just hits you, and you're just like, oh snap, Bilbo, run! And you were so scared for Bilbo, and your heart is racing every time Smaug is on the screen. And I actually like that they didn't go by the book with this one, because the dwarves themselves never came into the gold/chamber room that Smaug stayed in until after Bilbo had talked to him, and I think after Smaug left for Lake Town is when the dwarves finally came in the room. I liked the fact that they had all the dwarves that went on the quest come in and they fought Smaug together. And Thorin's line, he was like, look, whoever goes in there is probably not going to make it back out. And if we die, we all die together. Because we're a team, and we're basically like brothers, and that line had me emotional. Not like fangirl emotional, it just had me emotional. Because you see these people who have bonded so much with each other, that they're like brothers, and it just reminded me of Sam and Frodo, and it was a feeling of happiness and why, and you cannot die put together. Speaking of brothership, Keely and Feely. I know a lot of people who this is their two favorite people of the dwarves, and I kind of agree with them to an extent. I love Bomber and I love Thorin, obviously, and I love the whole company, but we focused a lot on Feely and Keely's relationship because, as their names kind of tell you, they're twins. I know from the book that a lot of the dwarves don't make it back home, but, I mean, there's 14 in this company, including Bilbo. And there's so many of these dwarves that they obviously can all make it, because it's a huge, huge task. Of course not all of them are going to make it. So, when they're doing the barrel scene, which was done incredibly, by the way, I need to point that out there. That was one of my favorite scenes in the movie. I can't really pick out a favorite scene because all of it was incredible, but if I say a favorite scene, it just means that it touched my heart, or it was incredible, or it was done incredibly well, and just everything was done so well. When the barrel scene's happening, and is it Keely? Yeah, it was Keely who took it upon himself to run up there, and then he got shot, and I was like, of course you break up the twins first, and it hurt. And then when Thorin's like, no, I can't risk the entire company for one dwarf, I was like, Thorin, you are letting him go. And when he didn't, and his brother was like, no, Thorin, I need to be with my brother. This quest is not more important than my twin. I have to stay with him. That was really emotional because you just see this bond, and it's unbreakable, and it's beautiful, and it really shows you how strong family is. And I love that about The Lord of the Rings, and I love it about The Hobbit. And it's this theme that stays with you. And it's this beautiful thing that was done so well. And I honestly don't remember if I teared up or not. I don't know if I cried or teared up or got misty-eyed at all during it, because I was just so like, what's gonna happen next, to the screen. So I don't remember. But I mean, I know I got my heart hurt inside, and not in a fangirl way. Because here's my thing: you don't fangirl over Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit, because the thing is, it's an epic story, and when stories are this epic and this amazing, there is no fangirling needed. There's nothing to fangirl over, really. It just is amazing, and it should make you feel awe-inspired, and it's just something that's so big and beautiful that you should just enjoy it for what it is. And I may be obsessed with it, but who cares? Like, you can obsess over it, just no fangirling. I know a lot of people were unsure about whether they were going to like Tariel or not, and I didn't know, because I thought I might feel like they were replacing Arwen in a sense, just giving the movie a pretty female elf. And I actually really liked her. I love what they did with her character. I love how she sort of had a relationship with Keeley. She was beautiful, and her fight scenes are really cool, and she's tough. Like, I almost feel like she's tougher than Arwen, in a sense, because she's just all about being a warrior and fighting, and it was just, I loved her character. I don't know what you people are talking about. She was good. And finally, shall we mention the end? So, we're watching Bilbo being chased by Smaug in the throne room of Erebor. And Smaug knocks over a bunch of tapestries that are on the wall, and then they fall, and Bilbo hides under them. And Smaug's just like having his own little, like talking to Bilbo, but he's essentially talking to himself because Bilbo is just listening. Like, he knows Bilbo's listening, but he starts kind of talking to himself, and he goes, "Wait a minute. Those Lake Town people helped you, so I'm gonna go destroy their homes." And then Bilbo darts out of his hiding place and goes, "No, Smaug, you can't hurt them. They have nothing to do with this." And then Smaug looks at Bilbo and goes, "Do you care for these people?" And Bilbo's like, "Yes, of course. Because, you know, there's 3 dwarves still in Lake Town. We have the twins, and then we have the one that partied a little too hard the night before the quest, and he didn't wake up in time." So, and that part was funny when he, like, runs towards the twins and is like, "So did you guys miss the boat too?" Because he was just late. And it was sad because it's like, no, Keely's dying. And it was sad, but funny. And so Smaug is in the room, and he's like talking, and Bilbo's like, "No, you can't hurt them. They didn't do anything wrong. They don't deserve this. They don't have anything to do with this quest." And Smaug goes, "Do you care for them?" And Bilbo's like, "Of course, yes." And then Smaug straightens himself up, gets all, you know, like evil, and he says, "Well, then you'll enjoy watching them die." And then we get this slow, it's not slow motion, but it just feels like it is because you're horrified. Even though I know what's going to happen because I read the book, I'm just like, no, you can't. So then we watch Smaug fly out of the throne room, and he's covered in like boiling hot gold that's been melted down. So, you know, he's enraged. And we see this, and he's flying up into the sky, and we watch all the gold like come off of him really slowly. And then he goes up, and Bilbo runs after him, and like, cause you know Smaug's been like tearing up Erebor. In the castle, there's tons of rubble around everywhere, and it's just, it looks like a battleground. And Bilbo looks up, and he watches Smaug fly off into the distance towards Lake Town, and he just, with this horrified, sad look on his face, goes, "What have we done?" And screen goes, boom, and you're just like, no, no, we have to know what happens next. What do you mean this is the end of the movie? No. And then Ed Sheeran's voice comes up and he's singing I See Fire. I listened to the song once before I saw the movie, and it was like a few months ago, and I wasn't a huge fan of the song, but then after watching the movie and hearing it, it's perfect. It really is. And listening to the lyrics now, it makes so much sense, and I wanted to cry so much at that point. But I was just so like, cause I feel like I have been through the emotional journey. My emotions are just done because I've been through so much, and I'm just kind of staring off into space, and my dad and I just kind of sit there, we let it sink in, and then my dad finally knew the end of the song. It's like a 5-minute song, so near the end of it, he's finally gets out of a nap, and he's like, ready to go, and I'm like, sure. So then we walk out, and the experience is over, and I am just so overcome, and it was incredible. I don't see how they could have done this movie any better. I mean, I know there are people who say they should have stuck true to the book and like didn't add the payout work and all that, but I feel like it adds so much to the story, because The Hobbit was supposed to be a lot lighter, and it's supposed to be kind of a more fun adventure, I guess you would say, than The Lord of the Rings, because Bilbo finds the ring, and that's really the main way that it's prequel. And I also love that scene where Bilbo loses the ring of the spiders, and then he sees it, and he's like, that is mine, and he like viciously kills I don't think it was a spider. If it was a spider, it was like a young spider or something like that, and he just like kills it and he slashes it over and over. That was good to show that the ring had an effect on him. The movie is just so good and amazing. I mean, you honestly can't rave about it enough. As previously said, I give this movie like 15 out of 10 stars. I mean, it's perfect. So, yeah, that's about all I have to say. I have rambled on forever, and I could go on for a million years more. I mean, it is so good. But I'll leave it at that. Comments. Subscribe if you would like to. Just wherever the buttons are, do what you will with the buttons. So, with that being said, I will talk to you guys later, and I will hopefully have a new video up soon. Bye!